Hey everyone. So over the last two videos, we've come a long way. We started by building a STEAM summer camp website from scratch using just a conversation with AI. Then in the next video, we learned about skill files, plain language documents that give AI consistent standards to follow every single time. We went from AI that forgets everything between conversations to AI that designs our rules automatically. Today, we're taking the next step. We're going to talk about agents. And this is where things get really interesting, because instead of giving AI agents instructions just to watch it do one thing at a time, we're going to give it the ability to take on specific roles and work on multiple things independently. We're still going to be using Cursor, and we'll still build on our STEAM Summer Camp website. So let's talk about where we are now. We've got our skills file. It tells the AI our design standards, fonts, colors, accessibility, all of that. And that's great. But here's what happens when you start asking AI to do more complex work. Let's say I want to add 3 things to our summer camp website at once. I want to research what the best STEAM summer camps are doing right now. I want to look at our site and figure out what's missing, and I want to create a feedback survey for parents. 3 tasks. If I put that all into one conversation, what happens? The AI tries to do everything at once. It's reading about camp trends, it's looking at our code, and it's writing survey questions, all in the same conversation. And remember what we said about AI having a limited memory window? Every conversation has a ceiling on how much it can hold in its head at one time. When you stuff too much into one conversation, the quality will drop. It starts to forget things that you said earlier, and it loses focus. Think about it this way. Imagine you're a teacher and you're trying to grade papers, plan tomorrow's lesson, and respond to parents' teachers' emails all at the exact same time. Not switching between them, but literally doing all 3 simultaneously. You do a worse job at all of them than if you focus on one at a time. And that's what happens when we overload a single AI conversation. The memory window fills up and the AI starts cutting corners. So how do we fix this? And this is where agents come in. An agent is basically a specialist. Instead of one AI conversation trying to do everything, you create separate roles, each with its own focus, its own instructions, and, in its key part, its own memory window. Remember skill files? Those tell AI how you want things done, your standards, your style guide. An agent file tells the AI what role to play and what it's responsible for. Skills are the how, agents are the who. Think about it this way. In a school, you've got a curriculum coordinator, a guidance counselor, and a department head. They all work for the same school. They all follow the same school policies. That's your skills file. But each one has a different job, a different expertise, and different things that they pay attention to. And that's what agent files do. They create specialists. And here's the part that makes it powerful. Each agent gets its own separate conversation with the AI, its own memory window. So instead of one overloaded conversation trying to do 3 things, you get 3 focused conversations, each one doing it really well, and they all still follow your skills file to stay consistent. Now, I want to introduce a concept here that's really important, especially if you're an educator. It's called progressive disclosure. Progressive disclosure just means that you don't dump everything on someone or something all at once. You layer the information in gradually, building on what came before. Great teachers do this all the time. You don't hand a student a 500-page textbook on day 1 and say, learn this. You start with the basics and add complexity as they're ready for it. That's exactly what we're doing with this series. First we talk about the AI, and then we gave it the standard with skill files. Now we're giving it a role with agents. Each layer builds on the last one, and it's the same principle when you're working on AI itself. Don't try to give it everything in one giant prompt. Layer your information. Give it a role, give it focused instructions, and let it do its thing. That's what the agents are designed for. Alright, let's look at how this actually works. I'm going to open our STEAM Camp project in Cursor, and you can see our .agent folder from last time. It still has our skills folder with the front-end design MD skill file inside. Now, I need to create the agent files. These go in the similar agent folder, but instead of the skills subfolder, we put it in the agent subfolder. So we'll right-click this, and click on New Folder, call it Agents, and that should be good. Make sure that you have it at the same level that skills are at. So now we can do some cool stuff. First, research agent.md. This agent's job is to look into what's current in STEAM education, summer camp best practices, and what other programs are doing well. It's our researcher. Let's show you what's inside. We'll just grab a copy right here and bring it into the file, and we can see the description. We'll move this window over since we don't need the AI just yet, but we can see some rules here. You're a STEAM education research specialist. It lists what the agent should focus on: current trends, age-appropriate STEAM activities, best practices, and more. Bullet points with sources whenever possible. Notice how simple it is. These are just plain text files, just like the skill files, with no code, nothing else, just clear instructions about what this specialist should look on. Next, let's create another agent. We'll call this a gap analysis agent. Once again, I will copy it from somewhere and take a look. You're a content gap analyst for educational websites. It tells the agent to review our existing pages, compare them against STEAM education standards, and identify what's missing or what could be improved. It could prioritize gaps by importance, safety information first, then educational content, then nice to haves. Finally, let's create a rubric agent. This agent will create assessment tools, rubrics, evaluation forms, feedback surveys. It's basically our huge assessment agent. Once again, we'll paste it in, and we can see this one says, you're an assessment and evaluation specialist for education programs. It focuses on creating rubrics that are clear and actionable, surveys that parents can actually fill out quickly, and evaluation criteria that align with the camp's STEAM learning goals. If you have particular survey design rules that you would like to follow, you could definitely add them in here. For now, we'll keep it simple. All right, let's see these agents actually work. I'm going to open a conversation in Cursor, and I'm going to give it a prompt that involves all three agents. But instead of cramming everything into one conversation, Cursor's agent mode can plan the work, break it into pieces, and use our agent files to guide each part. Watch how little I need to type. I'm going to say something like, I want to improve our STEAM summer camp website. Research what top camps are doing right now, analyze our current site for gaps, and then create a parent feedback rubric that we can add to the site. Let's send the prompt, and that's it. One prompt, but because we have those three agent files, the AI knows how to break this down. It's not trying to do everything at once. It can reference the research agent's instructions for the research piece, the gap analysis agent for the review, and the rubric agent for the assessment tool. Watch what happens. It's planning out the work. It knows to research first, then analyze, and then create. Each part gets focused attention because the AI can reference the right file for a right task. Here we can see the research is starting to come back as it goes through each single to-do into a markdown file. So it will create a file for us soon, and we can take a look once that's done. We'll skip ahead in a bit here. So here's the research coming back. Look at this on the left. It's generated 4 files for each of the next steps and all of the findings that we've done. It's found current trends in STEAM summer camps, and it's organized it by category. We can look at the research findings, and currently it's just showing a preview, but we can click on this mode so that we can look at it in a nicer format, and it gives us some high-level understanding of what exists. Next, we can take a look at the gap analysis as well. We'll switch this over to a preview, and it gives us some information. Some things that are missing, such as safety, staff qualifications, learning outcomes, communication policies, and even accessibility details. Going on next, here's the rubric. If we look through the rubric, also toggle this to preview, we can see that there's a parent feedback form with clear rating scales, specific questions about camp activities, and space for open-ended feedback. It's designed to be quick to fill out because that's what our agent told it to prioritize. 3 different tasks, each done with a focus and depth, and the whole thing stays consistent. That's the power of combining skills and agents. Now, let me take a step back from the code and explain why this matters for you, whether you're in a classroom, a university, or running a program. The agents that I built were about a camp website, but the concept works for anything. Let me give you some examples that might be closer to your day-to-day. Say you're a professor working on improving your teacher preparation program. You could create a research agent that stays focused on recent literature in your field. Maybe looks at studies about effective math instruction or culturally responsive pedagogy. That agent knows to look for peer-reviewed resources, to summarize findings in plain language, and to flag anything published in the last 2 years that might be relevant to you. Then you could create a syllabus analyst agent. Feed it your current course syllabus and the latest accreditation and the latest accreditation standards and have it identify where there are gaps. Maybe your program covers classroom management really well, but it's light on assessment literacy or using technology for differentiated instruction. The agent finds those gaps because that's its one job. And then a rubric agent, one that generates assessment rubrics aligned to specific learning outcomes. You tell it what standards you're targeting, what level of detail you need, and it builds rubrics that are immediately usable, not generic templates, rubrics that are completely tailored to your courses, your standards, and your students. Each of these agents would work independently with its own focus, but together they give you a complete picture: research, analysts, and tool. And because they have their own memory window, they're not fighting for space. The research agent doesn't get confused by rubric formatting. The rubric agent doesn't lose track of what standards to align to. That's the progressive disclosure in practice. You're not asking one tool to do everything. You're building layers of capability, each one focused and effective. So let's talk about something important. Agents can do more than skill files can. Skills files are passive. They sit there and they get read. Agents are active. They are rules. They can take actions. They can work through multi-step tasks on their own. And that also means the responsibility piece is way bigger. When you create an agent, you're deciding what it focuses on, what it can access, and how much independence it gets. If your research agent has access to project files, it's reading everything in that folder. If you're working with anything sensitive, student data, assessment, results, personal information, you need to be deliberate about what's in that project folder before you let these agents run. There's also the question of trust, but verify. Just because an agent found research or generated a rubric doesn't mean you skip reviewing it. Agents are powerful assistants, but they're not replacements for your professional judgment. A rubric agent might generate something that looks polished, but has criteria that doesn't actually measure what you care about. A research agent might summarize a study inaccurately. Your expertise is what makes the output valuable. And think about this from a teaching perspective. If you're showing students or colleagues how to use agents, you're also teaching them about responsibility. Who created these agent instructions? What value is embedded in them? If a rubric agent prioritizes efficiency over equity, that's a design choice that someone has made. Being thoughtful about how you configure your agents is a part of the work. This is one of the big differences between skills and agents. Skills keep things consistent, agents add autonomy. And with the autonomy comes the need for oversight. Let's recap the journey so far. We learned to talk to AI and build something from scratch. We then learned how to use skill files, giving AI consistent standards. Today, we learn agents, giving AI-focused roles that work independently. Once again, each layer built on the last one, starting simple and adding complexity whenever you're ready. And here's the takeaway. You don't need to be a programmer to use any of this. Every file we created today was in plain language. The agents are just text documents that describe a role. If you can write a job description or a lesson plan, you can write an agent file. In a future video, we can look into connecting all of these pieces together and look at how you can build more complex workflows where agents collaborate and hand off work to one another. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.